Hello and welcome to What I'm Playing Episode 2, baby. Let's go. Sticking to commitments. This episode, we're talking about Nintendo 64 games. I recently picked up this beautiful device, the Analog 3D. This is essentially a modern version of the Nintendo 64, which plays Nintendo 64 carts. And good God, I have loved this thing. And I won't talk about the Analog 3D itself too much because I want to give it its own full video review because I want to talk about the games. First off, we have Tony Hawk Pro Skater. As a kid, I had Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and Tony Hawk Underground for the GameCube, and those are both two of my favorite games of all time. So I was really excited to dive into the original Tony Hawk 1 and play it on the Nintendo 64. And when I first started playing, my first impressions were, wow, this game is old, and I'm not too sure this has aged very well. It took me a minute to get used to the controls, and I finally realized the only really thing you can do in the game is grind and do tricks in the air. There's no manuals and no lip tricks like there are in the newer games. And each level has 5 tapes which you try to get, 2 of which by getting a high score. The classic collecting letters to spell skate, finding the hidden tape, and some sort of other objective like knocking down boxes or grinding on cop cars. And even though it took me a while to get a grip on this game, eventually I did, and I started having a lot of fun. It's just such a great game to sit down and just play when you have 15 minutes. Like at one point, my wife and I were about to go out to dinner. I was waiting for her to get ready, so I'm like, well, heck, I'm just gonna sit down and play some Tony Hawk because each session is only 2 minutes anyway, so it's the perfect game for that. And I'm gonna talk about this with Pilot Wings too, but it's just really made me realize how amazing retro games really are. Like, it's not just a gimmick. It's really fun to go back and play this stuff and see what games were like back then. Especially when you boot up the game, it takes like 30 seconds to actually get in and play. You don't have to wait. There's no cutscenes or anything. Like, I was playing Cyberpunk 2077 the other day, and you can spend an entire gaming session just watching cutscenes, which is just sometimes fine when you're really into the story, but other times, like, if you only have an hour to play and you spend the whole time watching cutscenes, it's kind of lame. So it's just fun to sit down and just play a game that's just a game and nothing else. It's just do the objectives, get the score you want, no fluff, no extra stuff, just a fun game. There are also 3 levels where it's a competition where you try to get as many points as you can, and then you can get a gold, silver, or bronze at the end. And I did struggle with these competitions for a little bit. I just found it difficult to get the points that I needed. But eventually I ended up finding this game FAQ website, which had a full guide of the game, which listed all of the special tricks that I needed since I was playing as Tony Hawk. And once I finally learned how to do these, the game kind of opened up and I was able to get the points that I needed. And it was just really cool because back in the day, like, this is how you had to learn about games sometimes. You had to go on the internet and look at these blogs to figure out how to do stuff. So it was just a nice little nostalgia trip that I was literally on game FAQs looking up special tricks to figure out how to beat the level. So yeah, I played through this whole game as Tony Hawk, got every single tape and all the gold medals, and got to the end and saw the credits. So yeah, I had a blast with this game, and since I completed it all, I unlocked a secret character, Officer Dick, which I just thought was really cool, and I ended up playing with him a little bit too and starting to progress through the game again, playing as him. So yeah, great game. If I hadn't loved Tony Hawk games already, probably wouldn't have cared as much, but it was just cool to go back and see what the original game was like and play through it again because I just love Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and Underground so much. Now the next game is Pilot Wings. And this is a game I have no nostalgia for. I knew absolutely nothing about. I don't even think I knew this game really existed until I found it at my local retro GameStop the other day. Because I have the Analog 3D, I went in the store specifically to see if they have any N64 games. They had a couple, and I was just kind of looking them up and seeing what the reviews were, and saw that people just gushed over this game, that they loved it. Didn't seem like the type of game I would really care about, but I figured, what the heck, I'll pick it up. I threw it in the Analog 3D, started playing, and I was immediately hooked. This game is awesome. I've been so excited to talk about this game because it was so much fun. I just was not expecting this. Again, did not think I would really care about this game. The prospect of just flying through the air as little cartoon characters, I don't know, just Didn't sound like the type of game I'd enjoy, but it just ran so well. Like the controls were tight and it was just super addicting. There's 3 different modes. You play as a paraglider, a jetpack, or a helicopter. And even the game concept itself, I don't even think sounds very fun talking about it. The majority of the time you're flying through rings and trying to get to the landing area as fast as you can. But it's the scoring system at the end that makes it really addicting. Not only do you earn points on actually completing the objectives, but also how fast you complete them and how well you land. So you can complete all the objectives, but take your sweet time and take way too long and not get a good score, or you could perfectly execute all of the objectives, get to the final landing spot, completely screw up the landing and screw up your run entirely. I'm laughing now, but this was frustrating a couple times. And based on how many points you earn, you can get a bronze, silver, gold, or perfect score. And when I played the first 3 tutorial levels, I was like, oh my god, this is so much fun. I'm gonna get a perfect score on every level. So I got a perfect score on the first 3 beginner levels, but when I started moving on, I quickly decided, yeah, I'm just gonna go for the gold medals. Because some of the scoring can be a little arbitrary. Like I would swear I would get a good landing, but then it would knock points because I came in a little bit too fast or just was slightly off from the center. And you know that feeling as a kid where you couldn't wait to get out from school and go home and play your favorite video game? This game really gave me that feeling. Like I would get so excited at the end of the day to sit down and play this game. And just like with Tony Hawk, you could also sit down and just play it in bursts. Oh, I got 10 minutes, let me sit down and play Pilot Wings. Again, that just quick, rapid succession of sit down, beat a level is just something that new games do not do very well. And I think it's a reason why a lot of people have this feeling of, oh, I just can't get into games anymore. Because yeah, you're sitting down and playing these crazy cinematic movie games that just have too much stuff to do. You don't really feel like you accomplish anything when you sit down and play them. Pilot Wings, I sit down, I get a gold medal. I'm good for the night, man. I feel accomplished. I had fun. And I really want to talk about the music too. The first time I played this game, it was like 10 p.m. I was winding down for the night. I selected the first hang gliding mission, and this was the music. Just listening to that, I was ready to just go to bed. It was so relaxing. Yeah, the music was great, but unfortunately the tracks do just repeat themselves over and over again. That has now been stuck in my head for the past several days. So now I'm just laying in bed and hearing. And so I worked my way through this game, getting a gold medal on every mission as I went along. The hang gliding missions, in my opinion, are some of the best. They just have the most difficulty curve because you have to try to keep good speed and keep up because you can eventually lose speed or get too close to the ground and crash. But I did really like some of the helicopter levels where you had to shoot stuff, specifically one where you fight this giant mecha robot, which was very out of place for this very peaceful game, but I had a lot of fun with it. Except the one time where I finally defeated him and then went to land and crashed. And to restart all over again. And as you work your way through, you eventually get to the final levels, which is the pilot class. And these levels were hard. I actually didn't even like the first hang gliding one, where all you were trying to do was go through these airlifts and get as high as you possibly could, and then go down 500 feet directly below you to go land. So you could spend 5 minutes getting a good score by getting as high as you could and then crash land at the bottom. It was super frustrating, but I eventually figured it out. The next one had a series of rings you had to go through, but they were scattered throughout the map and you only had to go through 8 of them, so you had to find the best path that you could. Since again, there was a time component to it where you want to go through 8 rings as fast as you could. So I eventually found a path that worked for me and got a good score. I did have fun with this because it was fun to explore and try to figure out the best path that you could. In the last mission, you were tasked with taking photos of specific objects on the map. And this one was really difficult, but very satisfying to finally pull off. There was a monster, a boat, and a rocket ship that you had to fly through and get up as close as you possibly could to take a picture. And it's just really fun when you feel like you finally mastered the game to get up close to this thing, take a picture, then like take off and fly away. Especially when I finally got that gold medal on there, man. Oh, that was just such a satisfying feeling that, again, I just don't get from a lot of modern games. All right, I think I can get gold. I just have to land, not screw this up. Come on. Easy does it. Right there. Oh my God. Come on. Probably a high impact. 95, let's go. That's gotta be gold. I've never been so happy to see this animation. And in the pilot class jetpack missions, oh my God, my favorite level in the game, where you had to fly through a cave and try not to crash or fall into the water below you. And it was just so much fun to master and get through this cave, because when I first started, I was like, holy shit, this is hard. I kept crashing into the walls or banging around and falling into the water below me. It's like, how is this even possible? Because again, you couldn't just take your time. You were scored based on how quickly you got through it. But I kept going again and again and again and again, and finally figured out and reached the end. I got a pretty decent score, but I was like, oh, what the heck, that was pretty fun. I'll try to improve. And I got through it with only touching the cave twice and got a score of 96, which was probably all I really needed to get gold. But I was having so much fun that I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go for a perfect score and get through this freaking cave without touching anything. I probably spent an hour attempting this over and over and over again. But I feel like I reached a flow state. Like I was just playing and going through. I wasn't even thinking. It was just really fun to master it. And I finally did end up getting a perfect score. Let's go. And since I had played that level so much, I felt like I had mastered the jetpack. The next level, you just had to push a ball to the very end. Got a perfect score on that first try. And then the last one, which I didn't find as interesting, where you just had to land on platforms as you went along. And I didn't even actually get a very good score on this, but because I had perfected the last two, I got a gold medal. And then moving on to the final helicopter mission, the first one being very difficult, where you had to fly through a whole bunch of rings. Like this took several minutes to actually get through. And some of the rings were actually spinning, which was really difficult, and sometimes felt a little bit just luck-based that the ring would be turned the right way when you flew through it. But again, it just really felt like these missions were a culmination of all of the past missions you had played, and that you'd finally mastered the game to get through them, which I eventually did. Got a good score on this mission. The next one, you had to pop a bunch of balloons as fast as you could. And then a return to form, the final mission, again, being one of my favorites, where you fight the mecha boss again, this time when he's in the water. And even though on my first run, I didn't think I did a very good job, because I just could not get my last shot off. I eventually defeated him, got to the end, did a very, very good landing, and boom, got my last gold medal. And would you look at that, there were credits. The satisfaction of getting every gold medal and reaching the credits. Good God, I love this game so much. This will always forever have a special place in my heart. A game that is 29 years old, only a year younger than me, and I absolutely adored it, which is just so cool, man. It's just so cool that a game this old can still be this fun to play now. And really, if there's anything to be learned from playing these two games, is if you're in a gaming slump, like go back and play something retro. Play something that you feel like you might have missed out on, because it is just so satisfying to pick up a game like this, master it, complete the whole thing, and again, just feel like you've accomplished something. And I'm really excited to keep trying more Nintendo 64 games that I haven't played before. These were some of my also recent pickups. I picked up GoldenEye because I've never actually played this. I only played the other 007 game, The World Is Not Enough. I've only played a little bit of it, but it really shows how cool the analog 3D is with its overclocking features, because I can actually play this at 60 frames per second. Because before I turned on that feature, it did feel a little clunky. I've also played a little bit of Army Men Sarge as Heroes. Again, that overclocking feature is just really fun with these shooters. I haven't played it yet, but I did pick up Donkey Kong 64. I know this one is somewhat controversial, but I've never played it, so I am excited to dive into this one for the first time. And if there's any other Nintendo 64 games you recommend me playing, I do have a summer cart, which just lets you play any game out there. including ROM hacks, because I do want to try a Smash 64 remix as well. So yeah, it's been fun to buy new Nintendo 64 games. I definitely never thought at age 30 I'd be playing the Nintendo 64 still, but here we are. I even had my parents bring me my childhood collection when they came to visit me recently, which I'll go over in another video. So that will include episode 2 of what I'm playing. I am having a lot of fun making this series. I already have so many ideas of other games to talk about. But yeah, new episodes every Friday. Let me know if there's any Nintendo 64 games you've been playing or any that you'd recommend I check out, since again, I have access to all of them. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, click buttons, all that good stuff. ScootTube out.